There is one thing that separates naturally charismatic people from the ones that just keep trying for years and years and years and stay stuck in being shy, introverted, reserved, and awkward forever. And that's simply how carefree they are. And I know this is not the sexy answer anyone wants to hear. It's more sexy to hear about, oh, this is this certain social skill. If you were to implement it, you would get the other person through these emotional states, and then they would get a dopamine and they would like you more, and you are just this social king now all of a sudden just by implementing something quickly overnight. There is no such thing. The thing that I hate the most is the fact that people don't want to understand this, because I've been in this position as well. I've been shy, introverted, reserved. And guess what? I spent years working on my social skills. Yeah, trying to implement all of this advice you see online that sounds very good, sounds very attractive and persuasive. And I started analyzing everything around me as well. I was like, okay, like this friend of mine says this type of jokes in this sort of environment, noted. Okay, this other guy makes eye contact for a bit longer and he smiles in a certain way that's charismatic. Alright, noted. Okay, I heard this thing of standing in a more straight manner and speaking with a low inflection at the end of sentences. Alright, we'll do it. I was having all this right data, and guess where it got me? It got me to overthink even more. I was so tense before, and now I was implementing these things, maybe giving the impression that I'm this socially perfect person from time to time at least. But I was overthinking, I was even more tense, and I wasn't feeling good in my own skin. And yet, was I charismatic? Like, take a guess. Was I charismatic? Implementing all those social skills to perfection? No, I was not. And people don't want to admit this, but charismatic people know nothing about charisma. Charismatic people know nothing about charisma. So why do you think that if you try to implement these charismatic tips and tricks, these social skills that you see online, you will become like them? Because it's not about that. It's all about how carefree you are. It's all about how much you are willing to sacrifice your image, to make a fool of yourself. Because the people that are naturally charismatic, they make a fool of themselves all the time. They embarrass themselves. They literally make jokes about the things they're embarrassed about. And that's why they are charismatic. That's why they get the appreciation from everyone, because people sense their power. They're not afraid of social judgment. They take social judgment and make a nice cake out of it. They make an even better situation, an even funnier situation. But we are not willing to do that. We are not willing to ruin our reputation. No, because we think that if we do that, then people will just judge us, look down upon us, and the way out of this is just to implement the social skills that will make us look perfect. Well, guess what? No one's perfect. And just like you have your insecurities, everyone has their insecurities. And because people also have insecurities, if they see you as this perfect social goddess to be put on a pedestal, they don't want to be around you so much. They don't like you as much. Doesn't it make sense? You need to be a bit more vulnerable. You need to show more weaknesses. You need to take the courage to embarrass yourself if the situation requires you to embarrass yourself. And the last thing you need to do is to be more tense, to get more data and more data. You don't need more data. What you need is to remove your filters. It hurts me to see that so many people are in the situation that I've been in, and they don't see these truths. They still believe in the law, the religion of implementing social skills to perfection. It's not about that. But then again, that's why 99.9% of people will stay stuck and will still be insecure and awkward. I don't know, maybe I'm not such a good teacher yet, maybe I'm not such a good YouTuber yet, but my hope is that through my content, through my videos, I will convince people that are in my previous situation that this is not the right way. The social skills way, like implementing social skills, only comes after you are able to be carefree, after you are able to be who you are meant to be, right? To take the courage to be disliked, as the book says, right? To take the courage to embarrass yourself, to remove your filters, and to be able to literally talk about nonsense for hours and hours without without having that voice who criticizes everything you're about to say, without trying to iterate through every piece of thought you get in your head. Just talking. That's the goal of a person that's shy and reserved and insecure. It's not social skills. Social skills only come after that. This is the order. You being congruent in who you really are, and only then the social skills on top. The only right order. Because otherwise, guess what you're doing otherwise? You're overthinking by default. You are an overthinker. You are insecure. And you get these social skills that's even more data for your brain that's already overwhelmed, that's already quite fried up. You give your brain even more data to process, even more data to focus on. And guess what your brain does? Your brain is even more overwhelmed. You start overthinking even more because overthinking social skills only leads to you being even more insecure, more anxious, and less of a good socializer. It was never about that. If it was, then, literally think about this. If social skills were all that ever mattered, then every single person, if you look up on YouTube social skills advice, and you see videos that have 10 million views, all of those 10 million people would be the social gods they wanted to be. But in truth, maybe even lower than 1%, even less than 1% of them are like that. And those 1%ers weren't so much of an overthinker before anyway. So maybe the social skills advice were appropriate for them. But for us it's not. For most people it's not. Because most people try to cope with their insecurities through social skills. They feel a void within and they try to fill this void with social skills. Don't take it out of context, please. But that gets you nowhere, really. That gets you nowhere, and you get used to the new version of you that's a bit more socially skilled. People get used to it. The dopamine that was previously something so fantastic just turns to normality. And the new normal, the new normality you live in, the new version of you, is a bit more skilled socially, but still feels awful. It was never about that. It was also never about getting people's validation, because everything you do basically is just to convince yourself that you are good enough. You currently believe you are not good enough, you currently believe you suck. Literally, your subconscious wholeheartedly believes you are a loser. And you try to convince yourself through people's validation, through people's appreciation and feedback. Which, by the way, getting feedback from the world and convincing yourself otherwise, that's the only way to do it. But not through social skills advice. Not yet. The constraint for you now is to be able to be carefree. If you are already carefree, then go ahead, implement social skills advice as much as you want. You are in the right moment to do it. But if you still feel a lot of resistance and a lot of pressure and this performance mindset, something holding you back from just saying the things you want to say, if you're unable to just flow from your head and out because you have all these filters, all these improvement mechanisms that keep iterating through every thought you have, then social skills are not for you. The goal is to be able to flow completely. Talk about nonsense, talk about embarrassing situations without being embarrassed. That's the goal. And that's when probably you won't even want social skills anyway, because the feedback from the world is fantastic when you have the courage to do that. That's what people actually want. So stop believing in that lie, please.